Okay. And with that, we're down to the last 7, the Genius Awards. These are the fancy ones. These are the ones that, are at the end of the ceremony and everybody waits for them because these are the big, big awards that have no qualifiers. They're just the best. The best of the best this year. Let's dive straight into Best Main Match 2025. There's no qualifiers here, just the best main match in your opinion that appeared this year.
I don't know. Like, Among Us, Human Pyramid, I don't really want to vote for the non-original.
I am of the same opinion.
Yeah.
I think neither of them had substantial changes. In fact, the one change in bouquet arrangement, I think, kind of made the game worse, which was, that the person in the middle was EC instead. So I personally think we should reward all the original kind of game design that occurred this year. Man, but a lot of these are really good. I mean, my eye is immediately drawn to Human Pyramid, which was, like we discussed earlier, a really, really simple main match that has a lot of depth and is able to, give us a lot of great content because of how well designed and executed it is, especially with that cherry on top prize mission. So that's the one my eyes are drawn to.
I agree.
I don't know if you guys have any other takes.
No, I think I agree. I think Human Pyramid as like a main match, like that you can run again and like kind of like almost guaranteed like it would be a hit. Human Pyramid is like probably the one I have the most confidence in fulfilling that criteria. I think like something more to my personal taste like that I would like probably play in my free time like is maybe Among Us.
Thank you very kindly.
Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, like, yeah, there are some fun main matches, but I think if I had to cut it down to like a select few, I think I would cut it down to those two.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. Probably my number 1 and number 2 aren't on here because I really enjoyed Track Trouble and Saving Faces. Neither of them are on here. Which is fine. I didn't nominate because it felt weird nominating as part of the committee for this one. But I do think that for me, Human Pyramid stands very much aloft. We've sung its praises a lot, and I think just logically, it probably is the runaway favorite to win.
Yeah.
And I probably will be voting for it as well, to be honest.
I do want to give a shout out to 4 Formulas, which I think is an incredibly awesome design. I think chiefly 3 things about it. Number 1, it's an equation building game that isn't just about who is better at programming and is a genuine mathematical challenge. Therefore, it becomes a main match that tests your individual skills as well as your social skills. There's a good harmony between those two. Number 2, it has like a submission mechanic that I've never seen before that's super unique and interesting, where you submit basically in pairs and something happens with each of the pairs. Super cool, super fun, and it created a lot of content. It meant that like you had to maintain relationships with everyone, right? Like just having one bad relationship could have tanked you. And then number 3, I think it was just a really clean design. I think they were able to making a math main match look not that daunting. And I don't think that's easy. Like we've had a lot of like mathy main matches before, and a lot of them kind of devolve into like calculations and spreadsheets and like your head hurting. And there's some of that here, but it's also very approachable. And I appreciate that about it. So I think that is definitely one that I'm also considering. But like you said, Spicy, Human Pyramid is such a standout that it's difficult for me to see myself not voting for it,
Well, okay. That was a relatively peaceful for one of the big awards.
Yeah.
Off to a great start.
Yeah. I mean, also, personal bias, vote for Among Us, fun game. Among Us is the game you would like to buy your nephew to play with a board game.
I'm the nephew.
Yeah, you're not playing Human Pyramid with your nephew. You are going to be playing Among Us with your nephew. That said, yeah, I think those are the ones that really stand out to me there. Okay, let's move on to Best Deathmatch 2025. Ooh, this one is tough.
Yeah.
This one is really tough.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna vote Redstone Signal here. I think from both like gameplay depth and like spectating experience, it like kind of it checks the boxes.
Yeah.
You can still like say the same with like Tactic Jam, which I think there's like a lot of like ways you can design like each individual board, and it's like spectators can also play along as the game is going, or like even color theory. For a Nim game, it's like I think it's a fun take on Nim. Also think like spectators can play along. It's pretty silly to look at, which adds to it in my opinion. But I don't know. I think Redstone Signal is like more to my personal taste in terms of what kinds of games I like.
Yeah. I think Redstone Signal is a great choice. I think color theory is really tempting for me, as I've already talked. Again, we've kind of touched on all of these, but color theory, Tactic Jam immediately, like something that really stands out to me, and Haunted House for innovation and something that I haven't like seen before as a game. But there's a lot of good choices here, to be quite honest.
Yeah. My only kind of anti-picks would once again be the recharged ones, because they were...
And perspective.
And perspective, I guess. They're not original. In the case of Toxicology, it's gone through its, award cycle, so to speak, and there weren't any like major changes made to it that makes it feel new. It feels wrong to reward Toxicology as the best DM of the year over something that actually came from this year, like Redstone Signal, Tactic Jam, Color Theory. But yeah, I mean, I think everything you guys mentioned are really good options, and I don't know. I genuinely, even right now, don't know if I can name my number one. I can name like a top 5, right? Like Spicy did.
I think Odds End is also worth a mention.
Yeah,
that game is awesome. That game is awesome, and I'm a little upset that, or not upset, I'm a little sad that it played out the way it did, because it did not live up to its potential, for sure.
Yeah, I can see it being the kind of game I like. I just haven't looked too deep into it.
One of those like 5 or 6 we mentioned, I think are all good. I don't think there's really a bad winner here, to be honest, other than the non-original games. So, yeah, we'll leave it up to the voters. All right. Well, those are the matches. Let's get the players.
Time to shed blood. Let's go.
I want to lead off just quickly because I think that this is tough because this is the best batch of new players we've ever seen. These two categories almost feel to a certain degree interchangeable for me. I might cast my vote for the same person on both because there are some heavy hitter new players. I just wanted to get that out of the way because I was incredibly impressed with the gameplay we saw, the new blood, so to speak, that showed up this year.
No, it was incredible. I agree with you. I think there are some contenders for best player that are not eligible for best new player, but there's a very good chance that the ballots end up overlapping for me, for sure. So shall we get started with the best new player 2025? Yeah, anybody want to draw first blood?
Well, we've got...
There's a few names we're all looking at, right?
We should mention the winners first and foremost.
Yeah, I Justin and KG are like the standouts for me for this category.
Just naturally.
Yes. I think one of them should win it. I think it is unfortunate that Apple and Major Banshee had their finals stuck in limbo.
I think even if it ends, I do think like it's not like to the same like winning. It would be impressive, but like I think Justin and KG's like runs are both like
I fully agree.
so hard to top.
I fully agree.
I agree.
I don't think the
fully
result
agree.
of that like matters to maybe for Joe. Like what Joe has going for him is like consistency. And I think an underrated part about Joe's games that I feel like I'm noticing is like he picks his enemies wisely. He kind of like picks on the right people, you know?
It is a skill. It is a skill.
Like he does avoid many death matches, and on top of being a computational force in recharge. But I do think Justin having like the social acumen and like the main match like competence, and being able to win some death matches, and KG just being like insane at like main matches and death matches. Like their level of dominance is just unmatched.
Yeah.
I agree. So now the question is, which one?
Yeah.
Only one can win.
It's tough because pound for pound, KG accomplished a lot more, but his sample size is a lot smaller than Justin, who played...
Yeah, I think I feel like my gut tells me KG is probably a stronger player, like on average. Like if they were to like play it, like if I were to see Justin in another org and KG in another org, I would be more inclined to say KG would probably like show a be more likely to show a solid, like a good run. But I feel like Justin has like more results to work with.
And they're impressive results too.
Yeah, these are two very different runs too. Like the versatility with Justin is something he has going for him. Like he has one run where he dominates main matches, and he has another run where he kind of like he's kind of like playing from a bad social landscape at the start and making it work despite like not necessarily winning main matches.
Yeah. He does get 6, but it's a pretty impressive 6 out of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with
like...
this like kind of cast.
And again, as a newbie who was able to avoid the death match until the final 8, until episode 8. Oh no, that is final 8. How convenient! Until the final 8, episode 8, when 4 of the 8 people went into the DM in the first place. But I think we're definitely putting a lot on that Cosmic Banquet run, which is incredibly impressive.
Yeah. So my kind of take, and this can bleed into the best player discussion too, because I'm sure we're gonna go over these points again. Me personally, I think Justin had the single most impressive org run this year.
Mm-hmm.
I can totally see
I
it.
would agree.
His Cosmic run is I think by far the best performance, and it was extremely clean.
Can I just say, if Amy won finals, I would disagree. But because she lost, I can't.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but Justin did finish the job, and that is important to me.
I agree with that take.
I think I loosely agree with X. Like, if you told me KG and Justin were in the same, like, Genius org, and I had to guess which person would have a higher placement, I feel like I might feel like I should say KG. But in terms of, like, raw performance, like, what we actually saw, Justin's Cosmic Banquet run is, like, an all-timer. It's insanely good. KG's run is also really good, and is fantastic and amazing. But partially because of the duration, partially because of like who was on the cast, I just think Justin's performance is top notch. And to me, that's probably my quote unquote tiebreaker. They both had such amazing runs, But if I have to sit down and choose a single person, I feel like I have to choose the most impressive run, and that's Justin, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably where I'm going as well. If I, not to like lose any excitement, I can pretend, I can like call you slurs or something. Do we want to make
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's just backed up by the fact that he had a really strong run in an org where the social environment was a lot less habitable towards him. And then, of course, had a very clean victory. And going 2-0, even if one of those was a bit dodgy, still 2-0 against Dems is not to be understated. Someone who has a really good bid as best DM player this year.
Yeah. And I want to give KG his flowers too, because what an accomplishment of a run that is. Pretty much immune almost all the time. Had a highlight moment multiple times. Like, he is really the protagonist of Simply Genius, and nobody else really comes close. He embodies that org. It's just that I think Justin did it just a bit better, like by a very, very small margin. It's tough out here, you know? Do we want to talk about any of these other new players? Just shout outs?
They're all competent people. They're great players. I don't feel like anyone will argue they are not. I think it's also just kind of like, I feel like even they would sit there and be like, yeah, I mean, Justin and KG, they both won in dominant fashion. It's kind of hard to beat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I do think Joe has a really good case. Like,
Joe has a case.
Yeah, I mean, the hypothetical world of like, okay, let's say Major Banshee won finals, and that happened 2 weeks ago. He has a 3-1 record, and like, that's super impressive. But I think I still agree with both of you that, yeah, that one would be good, but once again, I'll probably go back to my good old tiebreaker, and I still think Justin edges him out. You know?
Yeah.
It's good though, like definitely a worthy contender, but yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Do we want to expand this discussion by basically taking this list and adding all the people who aren't new?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can segue into best player overall.
Best player 2025.
Whew.
In you guys' opinions, do you think any of the returning players, veteran players, have a strong case?
Yeah, so I, like, for the longest times, like, for the few months, like, leading up to the awards, just, like, was in the Dems camp, just because I found his, like, the quantity, really. It was really the quantity that did it for me. Just the amount, like, he made 2 finals, one of which he won. He, like, you know, made it halfway into Redone, losing to Amaranth. And then, you know, collected all these, like, deathmatch wins along the way. For the longest time, I was, like, in that camp, just off of the sheer quantity. Like, that's impressive in its own right, I think. But yeah, I mean, like, his games were not as dynamic as, like, some of these other players. And the more I think about it, maybe I don't want to necessarily reward, like, the person who's farming genius orgs.
Dems does farm them. He very much does. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, like he's not going around playing in, like,
yeah,
baby's first genius. Yeah. He's playing in good ones.
He's playing against competent casts, and he's doing well consistently. And I think that is something to be, like, commended. I think the more I think about it, though, I feel like maybe I don't want best player award to be who can play the most orgs. Like, it does say something. It does add to it if you are consistent and there's a bigger sample size. But I feel like, the high highs have to be rewarded more. And so I still think Justin or KG have a good shot. But I think Dems like can be put into the mix, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's good to reward consistency. It's a valuable skill, and I think it's also good to get people to just like play more. Like, playing more is fine and good. Maybe not as much as Dems, but I think
Yes.
there is something to be said about rewarding people who put a lot more time into this. At the same time, me personally, I think I agree with you, X. I'm looking at peaks. Like, consistency is the tiebreaker, so to speak. The peaks are what's more important to me. Like, between someone who went like first and third and someone who only got first, I don't really care about the third place. I'm just kind of comparing the first place runs, you know?
That's fair.
And from that angle, I think it's still Justin.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue against the Cosmic Run.
There's also another metric you can add. It's just like, who do you think, like, who would you bet on in any given Genius org from here on out? It's just Amaranth, right? Like, but I don't think that's the criteria we're looking for these yearly awards.
Not really.
I do want to bring up, because I almost feel it's been a little reinforced by some of the discussions we've had throughout, but just looking at her two performances, Amy's, like, she...
Yeah, no, I think Amy clears if she had one SMG. That's like the...
I feel like you have to at least consider her to a certain degree. If we think about just again, multiple times we've talked about this is an impressive play that she did.
Yeah, that's true. I
do feel like winning finals is very important. Also, like, there's an aspect of, like, not many players do this, but there's definitely an aspect of, like, you target specific people to, like, ensure they don't get into finals. That's also part of the game, right? Like, you want, like, as good of a matchup as you can get going into finals. And if you fail to do that, you have to, kind of live with, like, the harder matchup. And that's why I still feel like delivering on finals is important enough for, like, to be, in my mind, eligible for this award.
I agree. I mean, okay, look, I'll be the first person to say, like, generally, I think making finals is the hardest part, and is also the more important / fun part of a Genius org. Like, yes, finals is important, and I think winning is important, but to be honest, finals is not where the most fun in a Genius org is had. That said, for an award like Best Player, I do think finishing the job is integral. Finals is its own beast, and you need to tame that beast if you want to claim the crown, right? And, like, if we live in the hypothetical world where Amy won, Amy beat Dems 2-1 or whatever, she wins this award, she runs away with it. I don't think we're even having a discussion. That is the single most impressive run of the year, like, hands down, and that's not even mentioning how well she played in Code Redone. But that's not the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in other years. Maybe in years where, maybe the winners weren't as inspiring or whatever. I could be like, yeah, that run was by far the most dominant. But this happens to be a year with a lot of good players. You have Amaranth, you have Dems, you have Justin, you have KG. That's 4 winners there, and I just have a hard time saying she's better than all of them. When she didn't win. And when, like, yes, Amy probably played main matches better than either Justin or KG, but, like, was it by a significant margin for me to be like, yeah, she's the best? I don't No. I don't know. I just think it's hard. I want to vote for her because it was super impressive. And like you said, Spicy, so many of this podcast, for anybody who's listening, I'm sure you've noticed this too. We've said the name Amy like so many times. She is integral to the story that is the Genius Or community 2025. But is she the best player? It's just hard. It just is hard. The second is really getting to me.
I almost feel like you're more gutted about the loss than she is at this point.
Maybe. I mean, because I want to give her flowers, but
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can justify it. And like, it's not even like she went 2-2 like Uri, right? The only other best, like historically, best player winners, all winners, except Uri. And Uri was a very, very special case, right?
Uri was in 2 finals at the same time that hadn't concluded at the time of the voting.
It has to be like an extraordinary circumstance, like 2 finals, because the prevailing opinion at the time was, well, surely he's going to win one of them, right? And also, even if he didn't, like 2-2 is kind of insanely impressive, right?
Yeah, and we live in a world where 1-2 is no longer in contention.
Well, 1-2-7. Yeah, it's just, this year is so tough. That year, had less competition to begin with. Yeah.
Okay, I do want to bring up one more person.
Okay.
I will say I'm not as educated about their game, and I think I should have brought them up in the previous category also. But Apple, I think, offers a different style of play
It's
compared
true.
to these
Yes, for
other
sure.
players that we brought up. And I don't feel like you have to be winning the tokens and the death matches to be considered dominant. I think you can like have a solid grasp on like the social game, the social landscape, and still be dominant in that way.
Yeah.
I'm not as educated as to how strong her grasp was, her grip on the social landscape was. But as far as like I can tell, she seemed like very social.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who did spectate, she was actively social. She was one of the social hubs early on.
Yeah.
That said, she also did a bunch of stupid shit, like
Yes.
pretending to.
Yes,
pretending
social,
to-
but
I
not
do
dominant.
think there were cleaner runs that are
that
also
no,
dominant,
but that's not
I-
to detract from her.
Yes,
I think the most impressive part of Apple's runs are 2 things. Number one, yeah, she did a lot of dumb shit, but she cleaned it up. And when she cleaned it up, she pretty much didn't make a mistake, I think, socially, after her death match. Very, very solid and clean run. Number 2, she has great social intuition. She is the rare breed of social player that is both sociable and intuitive, in the sense that, or has great intuition, in the sense that like she's managing her own connections, reaching out to people, making sure her own standing is good, while also being very good at clocking who else is at the top. And that's hard. Those are 2 different skills. She has both.
Yeah.
She's very good at like immediately like 2-3 episodes into the org. She's like, nobody is talking about Hidden. That's weird. He's doing well, but everybody is pretending he's not well connected. He has to be good. Turns out, yeah, that was exactly what was happening. Hidden was like leading a bunch of alliances, became like a main match beast, right? She clocked immediately, major Banshee, that's a finals threat. He's also probably like building up his social foundations. I should cozy up to him, but keep him at a distance. Perfectly on the dot, right? That ability to be able to understand the current social landscape, even with minimal information, is something that I think is pretty unique to her out of these lists. So, I do want to give her flowers.
but Justin or KG, right?
That said, yes, Justin.
Yeah,
or
okay.
KG, I
It's
think.
it's Apple definitely, and Apple obviously mentioned this, would have been helped if it wasn't for the timing of Code Black happening when it did.
Oh yeah, I mean like, even if I assume recharged finals like had concluded with Apple winning, like I still am more partial to like Justin or KG.
I agree.
But I think like the story changes if like Apple like had won recharged and Code Black by this point.
Yeah. I mean, kind of hard to ignore a 2-for-2, right? So with all that said, Justin or KG, right?
Justin or KG. Maybe Dems, depending on what you value.
Yeah. I think Dems is a fair choice. I mean, I also think Amaranth is a fair choice, although we obviously haven't discussed him here a lot. I'm sure we all have our opinions about his run, but from a statistical standpoint, it was dominant, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think it was. I'll be the first to admit I wasn't super impressed by anything that happened in Code Redone.
I think the most impressive part about Amaranth winning is just it's his 5th time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like within like the context of like one org or 1 year, like, you know, he has one run which is he just kind of like won deathmatch. He was just good at deathmatches. He was just unkillable. Like
Yeah.
there were main matches he excelled at, but like socially he was like kind of at the mercy of stronger social players.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like if you like have a friend who is like, hey, check this out. If I stand all this way over here, I'll dunk a basket every single time. And they do it, and you're like, wow, that's incredibly impressive. But then at a certain point, it's like, that's just what they do. And that's just what Amaranth does. And he's good at death matches. He doesn't lose death matches. It's like, yeah, no, that's entirely fair. But I don't know, at a certain... It's just like... I think just as much as we dock Amy for not being able to do the stick through at the end, I think you look at Amaranth's run in Code Redone, and it's like back against the wall practically all the time.
Yeah, which is kind of a consistent theme. I will say I think there are two legitimate kind of caveats with Amaranth's run. Number one is that it's literally an org he played before. He has, by default, objectively, the most playing time in all of the DMs. While for most other people, they're playing them for the first time.
Yes, he has an advantage. I don't think it's like that significant because it's not like he thinks about like these death matches like the year that like Code in between Code Red and Code Redone, you know?
Right, but Amaranth is a notorious note taker, and he was able to just go back to his channels and see what he thought about the death matches.
Yeah, and everyone had the same access to his old channels. I mean, really...
yes, but like, I think there's a marked difference between reading your own notes and reading someone else's notes.
That's fair, but
yeah.
I don't think it's like as huge of an advantage that I would like consider a caveat or like a here this is an asterisk to your win, or you know.
I would consider it a caveat. If we play Tempo Up again and I get casted with a bunch of people who don't know what Tempo Up is, like, I don't think that's fair. You know?
I think you are advantaged, but I don't think you are significantly advantaged enough for me to like care about it.
The more subjective second point is, I think what made Code Redone interesting is not Amaranth, it's Amy.
Yeah.
Which is a very subjective point, I know. But like when I was watching Code Redone, the protagonist or the person everybody was interested in following, the one making all the bombastic moves and whatever, the heart and soul of the org was Amy, right? And then she died, and for all intents and purposes, I think spectator engagement also kind of dried up because she was the thing everybody wanted to watch. That's obviously a far more subjective point, but like it is kind of what happened. So I agree with X ultimately. The impressive part is that it's the 5th in a row. In the context of like, in the context of this year, right? Of runs this year and performance this year, it's not as impressive as Justin, KG, even Dems, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents. Ultimately, I think all of us are in agreement that we'll think about it, we'll sleep on it, maybe we'll flip a coin, and like it's
Maybe I will flip a coin.
one of the two people that really popped out, Justin or KG. My heart right now is telling me Justin. I don't know about you two, but
I think ultimately I would agree with that. I think it's just, I mean, we talked plenty about it, yeah.
He has an immunity streak from episode 5 all the way to finals.
Didn't drop a single final match either.
And then didn't drop a single final match. His entire bar starting from episode 5 is just green. That's impressive. And he did that the entire time, like winning main matches while maintaining his social, while being a fun player to spectate, and also like obviously based on his finals performance, being a strong deathmatch player. Kind of a full and complete run all the way. I feel like if I were to nitpick, like to literally nitpick, just for the sake of nitpicking, I can poke a little more. I can just poke like a few more holes into KG's run. Not because like there are holes, but because like if I have to poke, like if I'm prodding and poking, I think KG's is a little bit more susceptible. But that's not saying it's a bad run. It's just like 2 incredible runs, and I gotta start, you know, finding the small details that let me come to a decision.
Yeah.
All right. We were able to end the best player discussion amicably.
Yeah. Congratulations. Handshakes all around. Around. High five.
That one
before the storm.
That one can get testy. All right. Next award, Best Org Cast 2025. Who had the best set of players?
Yeah, I can start. I think it's SMG. I
Really?
Yes. Like in the cast of 16, everyone at least delivered something. Like even the early boots, like KG is a fucking icon, right? First boot, KG. Razor, like I think Razor is like the weakest link in this cast, like in terms of content. But like he then proceeds to go to Final 3 and then becomes like, for better or worse, like a major reason the result was what it was. Hot Dog, like a force in the Redemption House, like while he was in the game was also like winning. And then Uri is Uri, User is User, Rose is Rose, you know, like not their best runs but decent. And then you have like, you know, people that popped off in the later game. I think, yeah, I cannot think of a single like bad seed in this bunch. If I had to name one, it's XNimus. No, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. So someone had said something about Recharge having no duds, but I also feel the same way about SMG3, which also on average is kind of harder to like have like less duds with a bigger cast count.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, and I don't want to name names necessarily because that's not in the spirit of this, but I think we would all agree that both Genius 1 and Simply Genius had a couple of people in the cast that, for some reason or another, never were able to reach their heights.
Yeah.
Which happens. It's just natural. But I think with so many good orgs, it means that, like with Simply Genius, or sorry, with SMG3, the cast alone is an all-stars cast. It is like, it's really stacked. And so the fact that everybody does deliver to a certain degree, some obviously more so than others, but especially if you just look at who was winning what, there's a lot of people got at least 1 or 2 moments. You know, even Hot Dog got 2 tokens of life before the early boot in episode 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can just kind of say it out loud in regards to Genius 1. There's just a few too many quits, you know?
Yeah.
In an year where it's like super stacked. So
Which is a shame because I think otherwise it would definitely be in the running. I mean, some of the early boots are great. Like Josh, we have not talked about him at all, but what an arc Josh had in the org.
Well, I'm mildly surprised he was not like nominated for most interesting to spectate.
He should have.
Yeah, I think people just forgot. And then you have Morthai, who's an early boot, and then I think the Genius one sort of final 7 speaks for itself. But there's just a few too many situations for it to in a year where, as X said, we have SMG3 and we have Genius Recharge. I think it is harder to justify. That said, I'm gonna go to bat for Genius Recharged.
No,
I do agree with the general sentiment that Genius Recharge has 0 or very, very few duds. And I think this is especially notable because pretty much everybody was super engaged, active.
Yeah.
Had interesting plans and alliances. Let's talk about the fact that Thrilled Codex, great main match strategist, alliance builder. That dude was 3rd boot. That's incredible. Not because he deserved that 3rd boot, but I think that speaks to the quality level of all the players. And everybody kind of had their own ideas and plans. I mean, the highlights, obviously, we've already run through, Major Banshee and Apple and Maji and Hidden and Bert. But, genuinely, so many players that I just love to watch, spectate, and also be the host of. And I think kind of what, to me, makes Genius Recharged more notable than SMG3 is kind of twofold. Number one, it's a lot easier for people to be quote-unquote good content in a live setting, because you have to be there and you're stuck there for multiple hours, and you're probably going to say a zinger or two, right? Or something. It is historically so difficult to cast 13 players who are active and awesome and are scheming in a non-live. Even in the best of best orgs, there's 1 or 2 people that you're that gives you a little bit of pause. I'm not going to name any names, but it's just true. It's very hard to get 13 people to dedicate themselves to a month-long endeavor. It is especially hard when you get to the second point, which is that this is a newcomer org. More than half, almost all of the players in this org were people that we had no guarantee would be active, good, social, strategic. There was no guarantee, right? We were throwing dartboards at a bunch of first-time players, and it's just so incredible how well the casting ended up, right? You have all these first-time players who ended up making super deep runs or had really influential impact on the game when they were there, right? Thrilled Codex is the obvious example, but even someone like Jaw had a whole hidden F2 with Brad, had an anti book club alliance, had an anti-bird alliance. He was active. He was fostering his social with so many different people, and that's obviously not mentioning all the people that are the heavy hitters that we've already mentioned.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's so hard to get a non-live cast right, doubly so when there are so many unknown factors. And to me, the fact that they not only accomplished the mission, they kind of hit it out of the park. Genius Recharge has such a consistent cast, which made every episode really consistent in quality, right? I think that's remarkable, and that's something that we should celebrate. That's why personally Genius Recharged has my vote for this category.
All right, it's time to start the SMG Brigade. We
Well, how do you feel
outnumber
about it?
Recharged.
Yeah, how do you feel about it, Spicy?
Whew. It's tough. I think it's tough also because, SMG3 does have 16 players and a lot more just outward star factor in there going into the org, whereas Recharged was made with a lot more up-and-comers. I mean, again, the one person who really didn't fall into that category kind of got out first.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of people in Recharged who I'm excited to see play more orgs, you know? It's like, there's quite a few people who it's like, I'm interested to see where they go in the future. Some of them have already signed up for some, but others, I'm, like, obviously people like Magi and Hidden, for example. I'm very interested to see them in more orgs in the future. It's tough. It's really tough. It's difficult because I remember seeing the SMG cast and being like, there's no way you got this group for a live Genius org as well. I think that was one of those things that was also, because especially since the two of the main live orgs were mine and Shards, it was kind of a secular group almost, where it was a very specific group of people. And so to see a whole bunch of names that I never would have expected, you know, obviously Sam, Uri, and Zero are the three that like really stand out. But then, you know, you get Grunkle showing up, you get Dems, it's just very stacked.
Yeah.
It's one that I frankly don't know the answer to and will have to think about before I cast my vote. But both are very good options, and it's really what you value more, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a wrong answer here. There's, you know,
No, there
right
definitely
answer.
is. There definitely is a wrong answer.
Okay, well, among the two choices that we have kind of presented here, I think either way is totally valid. So we'll leave it up to the fate of the voters. With that, let's move on to Best Host Team 2025. And
there's definitely a wrong answer here too.
Which one is that?
Yeah, actually there are multiple wrong answers, huh?
Go for it.
Okay,
Speak
first
your
off,
truth.
everyone involved in Weekend Genius is just a troll nomination, I feel. Like, can we just acknowledge it's just kind of a troll nomination. Also, I don't feel like if that won the award, I don't think I'd be like patting myself on the back like I did good. You know, like it's not, no names were given. It's not as satisfactory.
Yeah.
Like no one will appreciate this winning. All right, moving on.
It's also, I think, far more nebulous. I think it is difficult to reward the hosts of something that is explicitly unplanned over, you know, all the effort and time all the other hosts put in.
And not to mention, like, it's unplanned for a very casual experience.
Yeah.
Next
up?
Cosmic Banquet.
So why... Yeah, I'll let you speak on it, X. I'm curious why you think so.
I feel like... some parts might have to be cut. It could be completely real.
Okay. I mean, you can elaborate. Or do you not want to?
I will just say whatever in good faith that you will cut the parts that need to be cut.
Just be cordial.
That's kind of hard. You know what? No, let's pass.
I mean, okay.
I would be surprised if either of them were still watching at this point or found it in the first place. In the first place.
Yeah, just think of this as therapeutic. Obviously, don't be a ball of hatred, but like I think it's okay to talk candidly about some of the failings and what personally frustrated you. That's okay.
I think Sparkle, from my experience, just, you know, as a friend, like, is a very impulsive person. And like, she sees a shiny object and goes, "Ooh, I want that. I want to do that." And the genius kind of became that shiny object. So, she saw an episode of GG UK. She went, "Oh, this excites me." She proceeds to say, "I want to host the genius." And her vision of, you know, her idea and expectations for, you know, a genius org just did not match like ours, you know. And her standards for org length are vastly different from genius orgs, in that she's used to, like, you know, the more like traditional org length like how survivors do it. Like every day there's something. There's like a challenge a day. The next day there's voting, and then you're straight back into challenge and voting, and then like that's how they condense like the entire org experience into a month. There's just constant action. Whereas like this community, for better or worse, it takes it slow. Even with the live stuff.
I mean, even live orgs like Spicy's orgs, I mean, 100 days is like expected, you know?
Yeah. And so like her idea was more strict with scheduling, more faster paced. Even like 3 months, like while it sounds like very fast to us, it is very slow to Sparkle. And like I understand the perspective like difference, but it also but that combined with like the impulsiveness kind of led to us being dragged into, yeah, we did say we would offer help, but without much prior notice. We were kind of like dragged into, hey, we have to make these games by this date, which was not a lot of time, because she's also used to making simple survivor challenges that you can kind of just come up with in a day, right? That are not very complex, not a lot of depth. So she kind of just assumed you can kind of do the same with main matches and death matches. You can just make a game in a day, which is typically not how the design process works.
You're right.
And so with limited time, every week just kind of felt like a school project that we were like last minute cramming to complete.
Yeah.
And I think the dissonance in like design philosophies and just outlook on like orgs on how they should be hosted kind of, I think she was kind of turned off of hosting. She was like, oh well, these people want to like have it their way, and like I want to have it my way, but I think they know what they're doing, and they're gonna like be more pushy about how they want it to be done. So I think like at some point she checked out, and so most of the design work went to like not the main host, and then for other reasons, Ninth like had to drop out of the hosting team. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, like it just at some point it felt like someone else's like project got like delegated to us. And like not to like be like fuck you Sparkle, because I still consider her a friend, but the experience was stressful and not necessarily one that not even, I don't feel like she knew what she was getting herself into, and we certainly didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, in that like we didn't know that an entire fucking org project would like be dumped onto us with like not as much time as we would have liked.
Yeah. To be clear, that was not the capacity that I was invited onto the team, and I'm sure it's the same for you. We were more so supposed to be quote-unquote advisors. Like, the idea was that, hey, Sparkle doesn't know how... Sparkle approached us and was like, I don't know how to run a Genius org. Like, are there standards? So I wrote up a whole thing where I was like, hey, these are the standards. We have non-live and live. We have death matches and we have main matches. And this is how usually an episode is structured. Stuff like that. And I thought I was just there to maybe design like 1 or 2 games and help out with like feedback on stuff. That was my impression. That is obviously not the case.
She also like kind of just on her own announced like, hey, we're gonna start this next month. We didn't have a single game design. What the fuck? But yeah, that was just it's just kind of rough, like hosting wise, and on the production side and the design side. And while hosting the actual games, like running them in real time was fun, just the constant stress of like having to design something last minute, like kind of bled into like the quality of the games. You know, at some point, like these were not games that these games could have been better. Like a lot of these games could have been better. These were not the best versions of the ideas that we spawned. And
I mean, X, you're saying a lot of we, but in reality, you shouldered a lot of the burden.
in reality, I made the bad games. Yes.
No.
You're right.
That's not what I mean.
No.
Like,
I know.
Like,
I don't know.
I appreciate being included, but strictly speaking, I didn't do that much. I was mostly there for your emotional support, and I tagged in for like 2-3 episodes, right? Just looking at the quantitative facts, X, you know, a standard org has what, 26 games or so? 27? No, it's 22 plus 3, 25, right? There's 25.
Yeah.
X, you designed like a third of those games. I think you have 8 or 9 of these credited to you.
That's unfortunate.
Like I think some of the games are really good, but I think the issue at hand is more so like that is a main host workload, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of games. And then that's not even to mention that like a large chunk of the rest of the games are non-original games you borrowed because you needed to run a deathmatch and you couldn't come up with a good one in time, so you just asked to borrow one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it did not. This was not the most cohesive host team. The end result was not as great as it could have been. I don't think they should win. I mean, I appreciate the nomination. But I almost like the part of me that like feels traumatized, you know, can't help but feel like I'm being mocked almost by having this nominated. Even though like rationally, like I know that's not the intent, but it you know, I don't know. Anyway, don't vote for this. Thumbs up, smiley face.
All right. I mean, I appreciate you being candid, and I think like, yeah, I mean, I was there, and I know how tough it was. So, yeah. Oh boy. That said, I think we should probably switch gears to be a little bit more positive.
There's a lot of good options this year. We saw a lot of really strong orgs, and orgs that were able to have a good degree of follow through with being able to finish their product as well, which is always nice. Just arbitrarily, I'm currently hovered over Simply Genius, which I think probably is the fan favorite, I would say, just in terms of the hosting as a whole. Everything was very smooth, graphics were efficient, it seems like the workload was pretty evenly split, and I think that's something that specifically puts this above some of the other ones around here, where some of the other hosting teams, it feels like maybe there was 1 or 2 people who were the key leads on, for example, designing or something, whereas with this one, it felt, and I can like quickly look at, you go to like the repository, and you see a lot of different names in there. A lot of different people were contributing, and so the fact that it all came into such a cohesive product, despite it being a lot of different people's designs, I think really is a testament to the coherency and the competence of the hosting team in general.
Oh, for sure. I feel like it's such a good group of designers, but they're also very good at the hosting aspect, and you know, Sean is obviously incredible with graphics. So I think also E helped with some of the graphics too. So it's a really, really good team, and I wouldn't blame anyone for voting for them. They're just very consistent. Obviously, we all agreed that the org should win for consistently good design, and I don't know, it was a great joy to watch, and also importantly, they finished in time. Like it was well done, it was quick, and it was on pace. So I think that's a good choice. That said, I do want to talk a little bit about the Shardrin's Minecraft Genius 3 team, which I think is so as Spicy mentioned, like Shardrin's Minecraft Genius has Shard in its name. So Shardrin is obviously the main lead, and Shard is also the one who is responsible for most of the game design. That said, I think SMG3 has about the same division of labor as Simply Genius does, just in different ways. It's not the design work that's being split. It's more so because it's a live org, there's a lot more consideration factors. And I still do think Shard put a lot of time into this org. Probably the most out of the four, but that doesn't mean that like Sean, Psalms, and Ozzy weren't doing anything either. Obviously, Psalms, Ozzy, all of them were always available to help with the live dealing, which is an aspect that, you know, doesn't really exist in the non-live, but you need multiple people around the set to be able to, you know, take submissions or answer questions, or, you know, because there were also two sets. Sometimes you needed two people in both, and they needed to do different things and needed to know different things. So that's a whole thing. But on top of that, the other aspect about Minecraft Genius that, you know, isn't really mentioned is it's Minecraft. They need to build the set, and the entire set was custom built by these four people. I think especially Psalms and Ozzy did a lot of the building work, and I'm sure you guys would agree. I mean, X, you were walking in there for a lot of these games. Like, the set looks incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's highly detailed. It's genuinely a piece of art. And they built two of these, right? They had a main set and they had a lost set. And the lost set has all kinds of references to the other seasons of Shardrin's Minecraft Genius. It's really a love letter. I don't know. It's just a lot of effort was put in to make the org feel professional.
Yeah, I think I was told Psalms like built like half of like the entire set, which is crazy on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And I've like seen firsthand. I was spectating one episode, one main match. It was Mob Farm, where like you had to walk into the dealer room. You like kind of bet on like A or B, and then like you get a set of blocks. You have to then like say how you want to place those blocks, drop them onto a grid, on an existing grid, and Ozzy would like place those blocks it like really quickly onto the grid. Something I cannot relate to, and it'd be like, is this what you want? Is this the placement you want? And they'd say yes or no. They'd say like change that. He would like quickly like destroy a block and replace it and be like, is this what you want? And they go yes, and then he quickly reset the board state, and then the next player would come in, and like the same thing would happen. Like just the speed of which he'd process submissions like that was insane. And then Sean like fucking like hosted unlimited gem auction.
yeah, true.
I also assume Sean was a graphics guy, you know, and Sean's graphics are just incredible.
I believe that Shard does do a good bit of work on it, on graphics.
Yeah. For this season, I have backroom access because I'm the hidden fifth dealer. That's part of this team, but I didn't put myself here because I didn't really do anything. Sean did a lot of the header graphics, so you know the fancy ones with the pretty
the logos.
The logos. That was almost all Sean. I think Shard did maybe two of them. But Shard is mostly in charge of making the rules graphics, the ones with all the Minecraft heads explaining like different mechanics. Sometimes Sean stepped in to help with those. I actually stepped in a few times to help with the rules graphics as well, because let me tell you, these guys were pulling multiple all-nighters to make this all work. Obviously, for a considerable amount of the runtime of this org, I was in a time zone I was not expected to be in. So I would, you know, wake up, I would see that these fellows are in VC together, planning like the graphics, the rules, running last checks, delegating different tasks, practicing like how exactly they were going to go about like updating their spreadsheets. Like they were drilling how they were going to host the next episode, right? And they would stay there for hours. Like I would wake up I would eat breakfast, I would do everything, I'd eat lunch, I'd do all my things, I'd come back for dinner, and they were still there. Like, they pulled all-nighters to make sure that this org ran smoothly and professionally. And I just think that's super incredible. Like, that's part of the reason I stepped in a few times, was like, Shard was about to fall asleep. Like, he was so tired. I was like, hey, I can do the rest of the graphics, right? And you can go get a few hours of sleep before you have to host the episode and also have to work. Like, he has a full-time job. So I just think I firsthand saw how much effort and time and care and love went into every single episode of Shardrin's Minecraft Genius. Because, you know, I'm sure X, you know this, but sometimes the set would change. They would have to make adjustments to the set to fit the game. They would have to make custom graphics, and the way the graphics worked was Shard would manually, one by one, convert PNGs into maps. And that's a process that, you know, isn't that quick. It's not just like you can automate it. So he would sit there doing that one by one, and sometimes that would take hours. Like, for example, in The Great Equalizer, where you had to make one for every single number in that game, right? Just so much time and love went into that project that I have a very hard time not voting for Shardrin's Minecraft Genius, How to Adapt. Those boys put in so much work. So much work.
Yeah. I do also want to add, I was like, just during the downtime of one of the main matches, like while I was spectating, like I think someone, I don't remember who, but someone just gave me a tour of like the admin rooms, and like there was a room with like a green screen. I was like, whoa, is this where you like took the cast photos? And like they were like, yeah, and like just immediately I was like, wait, so like someone had to wear my skin and like pose and take a screenshot, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, damn, holy fuck, that goes hard.
That's why they ask you for your skins.
The XNimus skin suit worn by someone else. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of effort. And I'm not to like take away from the work that, you know, Genius 1 and Genius Recharge and Simply Genius did. But, you know, running a live org, running a Minecraft live org is just like another level of effort. And I think Shard and his team really wanted to impress with this one, because it was kind of their first foray into like quote unquote the greater community. And so they really upped the production value. And I think you can tell. So,
I mean, I had no point of comparison, but I was very, very impressed.
I mean, Spicy, I think you can speak a little bit to like the improvement from season 1. And season 1 was already, I heard, like pretty dang good. Like the set was already really good.
But we did not have a lot of the amenities that they were able to put, and just in general, the smoothness, the fact that they're able to run everything so smooth, because doing it live just adds that much more pressure, that much more timer. So it's very impressive. It just is straight up an impressive. It's kind of like a little bit of a magic trick how smoothly they're able to make a genius org in Minecraft, and to that extent I think it makes a lot of sense to commend them for that work, especially hearing all those all-nighters. Like that's impressive.
I look, don't quote me, but I think Sean said at least like 9 times in the dealer lounge, I'm too tired to work on this any further, but here's the graphic. I think it looks good. I feel like I swear I saw him say that so many different times. And those graphics look incredible. Like, they're really good. And Sean has told me personally that like having to man both SMG and Simply at the same time was like a lot of time and work. And you can see the amount of passion he put into them, so. All right, are we ready to wrap up this once and for all, guys?
I think we should just be like, yeah, S6 Genius, and then like just cut the recording. That's it.
Well, here it is. This is the big one. This is the org that we end the award ceremony on. Best Org 2025. And I mean, okay, there's a few of these that I don't really know about, but it's a really, really tough category. We've spent, almost 9 hours of raw footage talking about these orgs and everything about them, and it all comes down to this. We have to pick a name from Best Org 2025.
Okay, well, first off, I'm just minor annoyance. You gotta specify which season of Weekend Genius is Best Org 2025. Come on.
I mean, I think the person who submitted it said. I think the person who submitted it just said Weekend Genius, so I assume the first one.
It's a pretty good season. All right. I think, to be, and I'm very biased, so my opinion means nothing. But SMG had like a lot of great.
Yeah.
It had a great cast. It had banger moments. It had banger games. Like, what more could you want?
Yeah, I mean, I think
a
it's
banger winner. But
it's hard to argue against, right?
Yeah, the production quality was through the roof. Like, the cast delivered. A lot of the games were fun to both play and spectate. Just a great time overall.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to this category, I think it's just gonna be us listing all the good qualities, and
Of course.
really having a hard time trying to pick and choose which one matters to us more. Like, best is such a nebulous and subjective like word, but that's part of the charm.
As far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, I mean, my choice is like kind of locked in. I did my job. All right, have fun with the rest of the discussion, guys. I'm gonna go pee. Woo!
I mean, well, for me, I'll say that it's tough, but I think I would want to vote for a newbie org, because I feel like when I look at this year, I think that's the standout to me, is the fact that we had this amazing group of rookies, and that was partially due to 3 good orgs to foster them. And I think ultimately, because like this is also, if I'm thinking about the org that I most frequently brought up, I think for me it has to be Simply Genius. I think it, with any of the 4 main ones here, if anybody could say I'm voting for this, and I'd be like, that makes perfect sense. There is not a wrong answer here. But I think just for me, it balanced everything the most balanced that one could, I would say. Especially just if you're looking at consistency. If you're looking at consistency, I think the one thing that you can possibly dock it for, which I think is fair, is its highs might not be as high as some of the other orgs that we're talking about, but
yeah,
I think there's just no lows like whatsoever. And the fact that you're getting a good cast, a good season-long storyline, good main matches, good death matches, a very good hosting team, it's just so consistent that I feel like I have to give it the nod.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I agree with you. I feel like when we look back at this year, it's going to be defined by the newcomers, right? The amount of newbie orgs there were, and it's so important to nail the org that's catered to newcomers, because it's so easy to mess it up and turn them off from everything, right? And so it's this delicate balance of providing like a good, solid, genius experience, one that we expect as veterans, but catering it to the newbies and making sure they feel accommodated, but also make sure that they're having fun and that they want to play more, that they want to be part of the community. And I feel like all of the newcomer orgs this year did such a standout job at that. Like, all of the hosts were so considerate. The game design was top notch. There weren't any like massive delays. It's just so hard to pick between them even.
Yeah.
And that's not to take away from SMG3, which is like kind of the lone representative of the veteran org, and for good reason. It was by far the most impactful, the most spectated veteran org this year. And it had so many storylines, and I mean, I just spent 10 minutes earlier talking about how good the hosting team is and how much effort they put in. But like you, when I think of 2025, I think I'm going to think of one of the newcomer orgs. And from that perspective, I think it is very hard to argue against Simply Genius. It is, I think, it is the org that I think will have like the longest legacy in terms of like game design, in terms of like looking at the cast and how they'll do in the future, and in terms of like professionalism and stuff like that. Now I do agree with you. If we're talking highs, the most highs this year is found in Genius 1.
Yeah.
That's the high season. Like, if you want to talk about singular moments in time where literally everybody in the community were hyper focused on the same thing, that's Genius 1. That's Genius 1 episode 1, that's Genius 1 episode 2. And there's something to be said about that, right? But I don't know. The lows are also pretty low. Not to say the org is like bad. I don't think it ever even got close to bad territory, but when you're comparing it to like Simply Genius and Shardrin's Minecraft Genius, yeah, the lows can feel a little low. So it really comes down to like what I value more, the consistency or the peak. And I don't know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah, it's tough because at the end of the day, we're nitpicking. But that's the purpose of this podcast.
Yeah. And
you know,
I mean,
nothing's stopping you from voting for all options. So
that is true.
Emoji.
Yeah, centrism. Choose centrism.
And we haven't even mentioned Genius Recharge, which I think is unfortunately might be a bit of a casualty of the voting. But like, that is a rock solid org with a great cast, fun games, played out well, and like was super well administrated in the sense that like Charge just kept it running like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
You know, it never stopped. It never really had a major break up until I guess finals. You know, I just think it was such a great experience. It would be a great contender in most other years. I just feel like, to me, and even as someone who hosted Genius Recharge, I feel like it's a little bit less than the others, which is just tough. It speaks to how high the quality this year is. Okay, I think we should end this by all just saying what our heart calls to, right? Just saying the org that we think should win. We've given all the explanations. I think we just say what we think we will vote for right now, and we'll call it. Does that sound like a deal?
Yeah. Do you want to go alphabetically?
Yeah, I can go first. I think right now, if I have to give it to my heart, I'm voting Simply Genius.
Yes, yeah. Believe it or not, I will also agree. I am a vote for Simply Genius.
Yeah, and to end this off, I am voting for Essex Speed Genius.
Yeah.
All right, good recording, guys. We did it. We did it. 9 hours.
Yeah, 9 persons.
9 doors.